Hey, what's up guys? It's TechSummer talking to you here, and today let's talk about the state of the iPad Pro in general in 2021. So, in this video, I will talk about what's the iPad Pro 2021, 2020 or 2018 good for, and what professional use can you take out of it. I will give you my opinion, I will give you what I use it for, and I will give you some suggestions. And at the end, I will recommend if you should get or not the iPad Pro in 2021. But before we get started, roll the intro. The iPad Pro in 2021 is in a weird place. It's in the same place it has been for almost 3 years, because Apple didn't update or give us the update we wanted. So, since 3 years ago, where Apple put the USB-C and a very powerful chip, the A12X, on the iPad Pro, everyone has been wanting to get a new update where it would come with macOS-like features. So you would get external drive support, external webcam support, external mic support control, Thunderbolt port, Mac chip, Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, all of those Pro apps, and much more. A redesigned Finder app. And with all of this, I think there were a lot of people trying to justify that the iPad Pro could replace their MacBooks or even iMacs. So, in my opinion, the iPad Pro in 2021, I will say it right off the way, it's not a Mac replacement. So, the iPad Pro is, in my opinion, just a Mac companion. But that doesn't mean that the M1 iPad Pro or even the older iPad Pros are not useful in 2021. And as you know, or you might not know because you're not a subscriber, so if you're not a subscriber, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications there. But if you are a subscriber, you already know that I edit all my videos on my iPad Pro on LumaFusion. I have a 2018 model and a 12.9 inch, by the way, and I love it. It's my most powerful machine at home because I don't have a very powerful iMac or even a very powerful MacBook. I have a 2016 MacBook Pro with an Intel chip on it, so it's very slow. I can't edit any of this footage. And a 2017 iMac, which is my family computer, which isn't that strong either. And I used to edit videos there, but it got I got slower in the last couple of years, so I cannot use it. That's it. I use my iPad to edit videos. Also, I use it to edit thumbnails because Affinity Photo there, it's very powerful, almost as powerful as Affinity Photo on my Mac. I used to edit on my MacBook Pro, which was fine, but I prefer to use an Apple Pencil and a touch screen, so I prefer to use Affinity Photo on my iPad. So, the iPad has a lot of use in 2021. As you know, with its amazing 12.9 inch touchscreen and with the ability to use a Magic Keyboard or even other keyboards, Bluetooth keyboards and mouses, you have a lot of options to do. In terms of work, using Office or the pages and numbers, the iPad Pro is as capable as the Mac. So in my opinion, for test work and university work, you don't need a Mac, you just need an iPad. And also, if you buy an Apple Pencil, which I know is expensive for $180, you can edit and take notes on your iPad, which is quite incredible. Also, if you like to draw, there's no other option than an iPad. But for students and other people that just write texts, pages, documents, create PowerPoints, or create slides, keynotes, or Excel, or even numbers, and then they take notes and like to go to class and take some notes and write, study, the iPad Pro is the best machine for them. And I don't recommend a Mac for that, even though the MacBook Air is cheaper and most powerful. But if you want to do higher level stuff like editing photos, videos, you also can do that on the iPad. You don't have Pro support from Apple, which are Final Cut or even Motion or even Logic Pro, but you can do all of that on the iPad. Even 3D app modeling, which is something I do a lot in my studies, the iPad Pro is capable of using 3D Sharp, which is a very powerful app too. And using the Apple Pencil is way more intuitive than using the mouse on your computer. But as we know, the iPad Pro has a lot of steps until it reaches the Mac level. I think that the Finder needs to be updated. As bad as it is, it's still usable, but it's not perfect. But the iPad can do some pro stuff too. It can edit photos, it can edit videos. I do it all the time for myself because I have a 2018 iPad Pro, and while I'm waiting for the M1X MacBook Pro, I will use this iPad to edit and edit my videos on LumaFusion and edit my photos on Affinity Photo. I think these are both very powerful tools you can use to your Pro, like Pro app and Pro workflow. But in my opinion, if you are a real pro, get the MacBook. The iPad cannot replace that because it's not a Mac replacement. It's a Mac companion. And Apple wants you to buy both. So if you are a very undecided person, let me help you. The student and everyday person doesn't need a Mac. In my opinion, working on text, PowerPoint, Excel, numbers, it's fine on the iPad. It works very well. The touchscreen makes it easier and it's very incredible to use. Light Pro stuff like editing light videos, editing like photos, you can use Affinity Photo and LumaFusion. It's fine, you don't need to worry about that. The only thing that you need to worry is Pro app support. So you don't have those Pro apps that you use for professional work. You don't have those famous apps that everyone uses. You will have to be content with substitutes from the App Store, where you will have to use apps that won't have that much support, won't have that much features, and will be limited. For example, Photoshop. Photoshop has an app for the iPad, but it's limited. It can't do as much as it does on the iPad Pro as it does on the Mac. So if you are a real pro, just get a Mac. And if you want to, get an iPad for its companion, because Apple released universal support, which is quite incredible for the iPad Pro. It turns it into a Mac companion, the perfect Mac companion. You can set it up against your Mac or iMac, and you can use it with only one mouse and keyboard, the same as your Mac. You can control your iPad using the MacBook Pro's mouse. It's not the same thing as Sidecar. Sidecar turns your iPad into a secondary display. Universal control gives you control of the iPad, and you can transfer stuff between those two and almost fuse them in together. So you have two separate devices. But the iPad Pro has more power when coupled together with a Mac, and the Mac has more power coupled together with an iPad. But in my opinion, I don't think Apple will fuse them together because it will make people buy less stuff, and Apple doesn't want to lose any money. So they will be continuing selling these two with very profound differences, which make people decide between one and another, or in the future get them both. But if you are a prosumer, get a Mac. If you are just a normal consumer, the iPad is the best choice for you. I'm very sad that Apple didn't give us what we wanted on iPadOS 15. Pro app support, better Finder, support for external cameras, support for external mic control, and all of that. It gave us Thunderbolt, which is quite good. Gave us an M1, which is a Mac chip now. Used to be an iPad chip, but turned to be very powerful, so it's a unnecessary powerful chip for an iPad. But you can do sound work too. There's a lot of apps that try to be Logic, but they aren't. You can use LumaFusion, it's quite limited, but Affinity Photo is also very powerful in contrast to that. So in my opinion, you can do almost everything you want to on the iPad. You have some boundaries you have to surpass, but it's not worth it. The iPad, it's very expensive right now. Even if you buy just the iPad, you can spend $1,500 just on the iPad. And of course, you'll want to have a Magic Keyboard, which is the best accessory for the iPad. And then you go and you buy you an Apple Pencil, which will cost you more, $180. So you end up spending almost $2,000 on an iPad. And although it has Face ID and touchscreen, 120 Hz display, mini LED, it's very expensive. And I think it's not worth it. You can get a MacBook Air, a MacBook Pro, or even an M1X MacBook Pro, 14-inch for that price. So in my opinion, if you want an iPad Pro and you want it for a companion for the Mac, get 11-inch or get the iPad Air, which is perfect, and it's much cheaper. Or if you want the iPad to be your main device and you don't want to get a Mac, get the iPad Pro 12.9-inch with Magic Keyboard and pay a little bit extra. But know that it will cost you a lot of money. But that's the thing, the iPad is the best hardware that Apple has done, but one of the best support and iOS support or OS support for the hardware. So it's very confusing right now. We have to wait to see what Apple does. What's your opinion on the matter? I want to know. Leave it a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe either, and don't forget to leave a like. It helps the channel grow. Turn on the notifications there. What's your opinion on the iPad? Myself, I use the iPad a lot. I use it to edit videos on LumaFusion, edit my thumbnails on Affinity Photo, and edit photos on Affinity Photo. So, I don't know. What's your opinion? Do you like the iPad Pro? Do you use it? Leave a comment down below. This was Tech Summer talking to you here. Bye.